Welcome back to Grade 7 Math. This is lesson number 10.3, Bias. Very often, we are asked to answer a survey. Sometimes, the questions in a survey actually influence our opinion. In other words, the question is written so that we are encouraged to give an answer that the people conducting the survey want, instead of an answer that shows how we really feel. Here are some examples of questions that could influence the answer we give. Do you like my new hairstyle? My brother's new band is awesome. What do you think? What's your favorite vegetable? Broccoli, corn, or Brussels sprouts? So let's take a look at each of these questions. How might each of these questions influence your answers? Well, I'm just thinking if somebody comes up to me and says, do you like my new hairstyle? I'm going to feel some pressure to say yes, even though I might not like their new hairstyle. I don't want to hurt their feelings or make them angry. So a question like this is one that will put you in a difficult position and make you say something that the person wants to hear. Okay, thinking about my brother's new band is awesome. What do you think? Again, that's putting pressure on the person who's being asked because they don't want to upset the friend or upset the friend's brother, even. So, chances are a person hearing this question in person is going to say, well, sure, I agree. And then this third question might seem harmless. I think the problem, though, is that you're limiting the person's choice. And again, if I'm asking this question, chances are these three vegetables are amongst my favorites. I haven't really come up with a variety of veggies that include ones which I like and ones I don't like. The questions we looked at contain bias. Bias encourages a certain response by the wording of the question. On the next few slides, let's look at a few questions and determine whether each question is free of bias. For those questions that do have bias, let's talk about how we can reword the questions so that they are free of bias. All right. A cook in the cafeteria asks, well, did you enjoy yesterday's liver and onion special? So I'm thinking this is yet another one of those questions that puts pressure on the person being asked because the cook is someone who made the liver and onion special. So chances are they're going to want to hear the person say, yes, I enjoyed yesterday's liver and onion special, especially if the cook is a friend or a coworker or just a very nice person in general. So I would say that this question does contain some bias, um, and perhaps a better way of asking a question would be, uh, can you tell me if there was anything that you enjoyed about yesterday's menu? Or do you feel comfortable asking, or sorry, do you feel comfortable in giving me any feedback on yesterday's liver and onions special? And again, we can talk about some ideas which you might have in class tomorrow. Okay, here's one that looks harmless enough. What is your favorite sport? Hockey, golf, baseball, then other. And we've got an underline here, which means fill in your choice. I know for me personally, um, I think this is a better question to ask. Um, you could say that the person could have made the list a little bit longer and add some more choices, but what I like is that they included the other space. So you don't feel pressure to come up with or circle one of these answers, even though none of them are your favorites, you're still given space to fill in your own idea. Oh, how about this one? Should schools have a more reasonable schedule by changing to a 4-day week? Now, I'm willing to bet, folks, that the majority of you listening to this video are going to say yes. Okay, but I will ask you to be impartial, pause the video, and consider whether you think this question is free of bias or not. And we'll talk about this in class tomorrow. Okay, here's another one to consider. Do you think professional athletes are paid too much, about right, or too little? Okay, I'm thinking, uh, depending on who's asking the question, I don't see anything really inappropriate about this question. You're giving a person three choices here. You're not trying to steer them in any one direction. But pause the video, think about your answer. We'll talk about it tomorrow. In closing, there is one final thing to keep in mind when conducting or taking part in a survey. Your tone of voice when asking a question can also create bias. If you emphasize a word too strongly, it can encourage or intimidate a person into giving an answer that does not really reflect their feelings. It is very important to use an even tone of voice when asking survey questions so that the answers are fair and accurate. And even questions like, what is your favorite sport? Even questions where you're not asking somebody to describe something about you personally. With those even with those questions, you have to be careful, and you don't want to emphasize any one word in particular. Otherwise, your findings could very well be skewed. All right, so I'm anticipating we're going to have a good discussion around those sample questions in tomorrow's class, and from there, we'll work on a variety of problems in our math textbooks. But for now, this concludes today's video.